Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Sheila Butler, accomplished Chief Marketing Officer, 25 plus years of experience in integrating marketing, global loyalty program management, loyalty strategy, loyalty marketing, partnership marketing, business development, CRM, and brand development and transformation across B2C and B2B at Disney, JP Morgan Chase, Choice Hotels, and Axiom Bank, and so many others. Welcome to the show, Sheila.
Hey, AJ, thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Sheila. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk about. We'll talk about brand transformation. Learn from about cutting edge marketing strategies from you. You know how to build brand loyalty, transform brands, and drive engagement across industry. We'll talk about that. But before, let's talk about your journey, your background, so that people know who they are listening to.
Love it. So, I live in Orlando, Florida, near Walt Disney World, and I've had a really unexpected career. I started in entertainment at Disney, and I sort of just stumbled into marketing. I had an opportunity to work on a special project, and I just kept finding ways to extend the project, and it was in marketing, and it was at the time when Disney was redefining each of their theme parks and describing to consumers why they should visit each one, how each one was different. And I just kind of caught the branding bug when I was there. And so throughout my career, marketing has always just been an integral part of what I've been doing. And what was interesting was when I left Orlando, I moved up to the Philadelphia area. I found myself working at a tech startup and helping people brand their entrepreneurial businesses for venture capital pitches to try and get funding, right? And then I went to Bank One, which became JP Morgan Chase, and I started working in partnership marketing. And I really love the aspect of bringing disparate brands together and creating new customer acquisition channels, because you're leveraging the two brands and the strength of those and their collective audiences, as well as just really understanding loyalty. Like, what does loyalty mean to a consumer between the consumer and the brand? And how do you tap into that? And so when I started my company, Butler Marketing Group, about a year and a half ago, I really just focused on my superpowers. These are the things that get me excited to get out of bed in the morning, to build brands and transform brands, and to optimize loyalty programs, and to really deepen customer engagement. So I'm having a blast. It's just been an amazing ride.
Absolutely amazing ride, and obviously a lot of amazing things to learn from you. First is, let's learn about brand loyalty, customer loyalty. So, what are customers most loyal to in today's time? Is it about a coupon, a discount coupon, or is it about product, or is it about, that they are not having to deal with a bot and they are having to deal with a human? Who are they most loyal to in today's time? Coming
So
to 2025 is almost here.
right. So you know what? I think that when you try to compete on price, it's just you're going to lose. You're going to lose the battle, right? And you got nothing else to give if you're just competing on price, right? It's sort of like the bottom of the barrel. Um, I think that what I've observed in my career and what I've observed with my clients is that customers are most loyal when they feel seen and recognized and emotionally connected with the brand, right? I mean, Disney's a great example of that. I like literally moved my life back down here because I enjoy being at Disney. It makes me feel something really special, connects me back to my childhood again. That's a very deep connection with a brand versus just going to an amusement park and riding a roller coaster all day long, right? Those are two very different experiences. And I can still ride roller coasters at Disney, but the reason why I'm going there and how I feel when I'm there is very different. And I have this process that I started more than 20 years ago called Butler Branding Boot Camp. And it basically goes from the very rational, functional elements of a brand, like who are your competitors? What space do you want to play in relative to your competitors? What are your core equities? Like, what do you do each day? And how does that benefit customers, right? So, those are like the rational, functional things. But, and I call it brand mountain because you don't start climbing a mountain at the top, you start at the very bottom, right? And these are all like foundational things. So, as I go higher in the brand mountain, I think about, okay, well, what's your core identity? Like if you had to decide on four things your brand represents day in and day out, what are those four things? I build marketing messages around that in the next phase, but then I define the brand personality and then the brand promise. Like ultimately, when you're interacting with the brand, as a consumer, what is the brand promising you and what's the benefit to you, that key benefit? And then finally, the point of difference. And the reason why I use this process is that the higher up you go in the mountain, when you talk about the brand identity and the brand personality and the brand promise and point of difference, those are very, very intangible emotional elements. That's the sort of secret sauce on how you connect consumers to your brand in a really deep way. Another example I can share is think about hotels, right? So we all probably have our sort of chosen hotel brands that we like to stay in. Why? Because we become entrenched in their loyalty program. We earn points and we get status, and maybe we get an upgraded room or like a bottle of wine in our room because we stay there more often, right? They're recognizing you, they're customizing the experience for you. You feel seen and special. That's really tapping into the emotion of the brand, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, Sheila. So that is where some of these industries they know, especially you talked about the hotel industry and some other industries, and especially in the higher level, they have still connected with most of their customers, if we can want to say that way. But a lot of people in other segments, say uh, consumer electronics and in so many other things, or in day to day things, uh, they seem to have uh, left the customer on his own without forgetting about that whole aspect of engaging with the customer. You said customers want to be seen and heard. Here you have nobody, you don't even see the customer here, and then you talk about they are trying to reach to somebody responsible within the organization. All they get is the bots to talk to them. They also don't talk to them. They are left here. So why is it that when all these great guys in the companies knowing about so many great things about marketing and everything, they leave the customer like this? Are they so sure of their brand strength that whatever it is that these customers will come to them, or they think they are the ones who have got on the only product in this universe that they will have no other choice to? I
Uh,
want to understand why have they left the customer all alone.
You know what? I can't answer that for those brands, but what I will say is, there are many industries to where it's a commodity, right? A phone is a phone is a phone, but there are people who will always buy Apple and will never buy Samsung and go Droid, right? And vice versa. Why is that? Is it just that we know the user interface and UX enough to where it's just comfortable for us? Or is there some emotional connection with the brand? I've been a Droid person for a long time. So I buy Samsung. Do I feel emotionally connected to Samsung? No, I think for me, it's probably the UX, right? So I think there are different layers within that. I mean, working at JP Morgan Chase and credit cards, a credit card is a commodity and we've got more than one in our wallet, right? What am I going to do to get someone to pull that card out and put most of their spending when they're going to pay for something, put it on that card? It's normally because it's tied to rewards. There's something in it for me that is motivating my behavior. So can brands that, like phones, can they tap into an element of that? Like what is in it for the consumer? Is there something to give? And often the things that are most meaningful people have high perceived value of the benefit to the user, but actually relatively low cost from the company to deliver on that.
Right, Right. So let's talk about brand transformation. Why does a company with whatever level of brand, you can say, recall or brand identity they have got, why do they need this transformation? What is this transformation for a brand all about? When does it happen? Uh, is it the time for a lot of brands to transform themselves? Help us understand a bit about this whole concept of brand transformation.
This is where it's key. If the company has gone through some sort of acquisition, right? So the company is being acquired, or they're acquiring another company, right? Or one of my clients, there are two companies that are merging together. That's when you need to rethink your brand, because you used to be this, right? I could define my company and people know me as that. But now, because I've merged, I'm merging with another company, or I bought multiple companies. Now I went from this to this, right? And so how do I articulate that in a way? Because there's a reason, right? There's a business reason for why I've expanded. I'm trying to drive more revenue. I'm trying to diversify my customer audience or my product set, etc. So you now have to go back and think about, how do I explain this? And have my target audiences changed? What do I know about them? And how do I explain this in a way that's tangible for them and meaningful for them? That's when you go through my Butler Branding Bootcamp. The piece after that brand mountain is to go through and build out what I call the brand platform. So that is, what's your elevator pitch in 10 seconds or less? What are you all about? Then a positioning statement, which is a little bit longer, probably like a long sentence, right? And then really the strategic statement of value is a whole paragraph that sort of encompasses everything, as well as you've got those 4 core identity pieces or brand pillars that become your key marketing narratives. They're almost like some people call them reasons to believe, right? So if I say my elevator pitch is XYZ, right? And then I say, and here's a little bit more, I'm going to have these 4 reasons to say, and that's why my brand is my brand. And so when companies have those strategic changes and the company is changing or evolving, and maybe it's even contracting, right? Maybe it's sold off a piece and you have to redescribe, that's when you go through this work. I don't think you can just start with updating a logo or changing the tagline and thinking that everybody's going to track with you, because they're not going to be able to understand. You have to help them.
Right, Sheila. So let's understand a bit more about this brand transformation process, that is Butler Branding Bootcamp. Tell us a bit about, more about this whole process. Is there I really didn't know that there is a process to it. I thought maybe some logo change or here and there, maybe some sort of a messaging will work. But this looks like to be a big process. Please tell us. And who is this brand transformation process for? Is it also for startups? Is it only for big companies who have done this, some merger or acquisition? How does it work for, especially for smaller brands?
So I'll tell you what. So this is how this process all got started. A good friend of mine that I worked with in entertainment at Disney had decided to buy an entertainment production business to produce special events on his own. And so he said, "Hey, I bought this company, and can you help me with my website?" Okay, yeah, happy to, right? And he's like, "Okay, so what do I say on my website?" I'm like, "Well, what does your company stand for? Like, what audience are you trying to attract? And what makes you different, right? And how do we describe those differences in a way that attract the clients that you want, right?" And he goes, "I don't know." I go, "Well, then that's where we have to start. That's the brand strategy piece of it, right? You can't just start with a logo and say, I need to stand up a website and just sit there at the blank screen, or go into AI and thinking it's going to solve the problem. Like you have to build that foundation. My job is not to tell people what their brand is. My job is to unearth it from them by asking them a lot of questions to find the right words and the right messaging. What's also interesting is that the second friend that I had who used this process was starting a nonprofit. So totally different, right? But the process still works. And this year, I've had more clients than ever come to me for personal branding. When do they need that? Well, maybe their job was eliminated at a company. Maybe they've decided that they're tired of doing what they're doing and they might want to go out and consult on their own, or maybe they want a different full-time job. They need to explain themselves in a new and fresh way. And so this process, while I could build out the marketing messaging and the elevator pitch and so forth, that also helps for you to go in and update your LinkedIn profile, to rewrite your resume, to write cover letters, to have answers to questions during job interviews. It was mind-boggling to me to figure out that the process works regardless of what type of company. And my clients are small, medium, and Fortune 100 companies and individuals, and they can be B2B or B2C or B2B to C or tech startups, right? I did this when I worked at a tech startup. All the people just were trying to get funding for seed funding or the next round of funding. And so to me, I had no idea that when I built this process, it was going to be so transferable across industries and across needs.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to understand in terms of, when you talk about brand and personal branding, for a business, especially mid-sized business, small team, should they go more for, branding of their company or their product, or in terms of personal branding? How does it work in today's time? Things are changing very fast. People are talking about authenticity. People are talking about people who can trust. And so a lot of people are seeing who are the people behind a particular product or company. Not the big ones, the smaller ones especially. So how should people look at the brand transformation overall, and the personal branding of the top people down in that company? How does it work in today's time, Sheila?
What I would say is when I do the personal branding, it's really like one-on-one, like an individual, right? When I think about personal branding within the context of a company, the way that I approached it tends to be branding the entire company. That's one of the reasons why I went to Axiom Bank when I was there, was they were a 60, 70-year-old bank and decided we just want to re-describe who we are, to kind of reintroduce ourselves to remain competitive, right? And so I did the umbrella brand, what I say, like the parent brand, and then the sub brands underneath all the services that they have. And then built out the thought leadership strategy for board members and the C-suite folks, because I wanted them to be out there talking about the company in a consistent sort of way, but also developing their own brands in the limelight to be associated with the bank, right? So I think within the context of a company, that's how I would approach the personal branding, is to say, we're your thought leaders. These are the 4 core equities, or sorry, the core identity or brand pillars that we stand for. And then here's how we represent it as individuals, as servants within the organization.
Absolutely. Now let's come to the marketing part. In today's time, as we are about to, how will marketing look like in 2025? Will it be the same now, or will it change drastically in the coming months? How do you see that? What are the big challenges if you look at it from that point of view?
So one of the things that I've been struck by is how many organizations actually don't have what I call strategic marketing roadmap. That's basically for our own channels, which could be like your website, your mobile app, email that you're sending to your customers, right? Then your earned channels, which could be social media, PR, right? So public relations, et cetera, right? Speaking engagements, and then any paid media, if you're investing in paid search, if you're investing in paid social, right? So to map out and to say every week and every month of the next 12 months, here's what we're going to say, and here's how it drives the business objectives and goals of the business forward, right? So you're connecting the marketing activities back to the business fundamentals and what you need to achieve and how marketing can drive revenue for an organization. So you start with that roadmap. And then I think it's also really important to have a customer journey roadmap. whether you're B2B or B2C, to kind of understand, like, within each phase, like, you're trying to draw awareness for your brand or your company or your product, consideration for someone to think about trying it, using it again, and becoming a repeat customer. Maybe when they lapse, how do you bring them back in the fold again? So that whole roadmap needs to be articulated, because what then you're defining is the right message for the right customer in the right stage where they are, to get them engaged with your product or your company. So I think those things need to be present. And if they're not today, that's one of the first things to address. Otherwise, why are you sending an email? If you can't tie that email or the social media post back to the business goals and the revenue that you need to drive and your key performance indicators, your KPIs, then why are you sending it out in the first place, right? That said, AI can be a game changer if people haven't started to tinker with it and learn how to use it. I call it fail fast. I'll go in, I'll try stuff, and if it works, I'll do it again. And if it doesn't, don't do it again, try something else, right? But there are all these tools to drive more efficiency from a marketing standpoint. And I think that if people are willing to embrace that and try that, that's good. But they also need to recognize it's not a replacement for humans. It is to drive some efficiencies, right? So take some of the things that maybe you either don't like to do or don't do very well, or just need, like, hey, help me think this through, make it better. Try these things. Know that you're going to get jargon unless you tell it, don't use jargon. Know that it will repeat things if you don't actually teach it what you need it to know, which is why I like to create customized bots so that I'm speaking in the right voice for whatever I'm working on. All these different things, but it can't be just, I'm going to go into AI, I'm going to copy and paste it, and my work is done. That is not how it's meant to be used. And you will always just have like something just average or mediocre if that's what you're going for, right? You have to treat it like a partner.
Right. You have to treat it like a partner. And amidst all these things, when we are talking of marketing, a lot of things are going fractional, including the first one, I guess, was the fractional part of the fractional chief marketing officer. Uh,
Yep.
when things are not good for the company, they think, the fractional chief marketing officer will be able to take care of everything. What should companies have expectations in this regard? How should they look at a fractional chief marketing officer, as somebody who is going to take them out of the woods, or somebody who will, tell them how to be out of the woods? How does it work?
You know what? Those engagements vary by client, right? And the reason why I was giggling a little bit is that you're right. Sometimes there is this expectation that there will be companies that say, listen, we have lost money in sales and in marketing for the past 2 years. So can you come in 3 months and turn things around and drive like a 35% lift? That is completely unrealistic. Like, you've had a bad steam for 2 years. So I would love to have a magic wand. That would be amazing. And maybe the fairy godmother at Disney does, but I don't. So I can't fix it that fast, right? There are a lot of things that contributed to that. So I think that the ways the company can benefit from having a fractional chief marketing officer is to come in, have an assessment of the marketing performance, what's working, what isn't working, what's driving ROI, what is wasteful spending, how is the team organized, what are their processes, do they need to restructure, do you have centralized resources, do you centralize learning and test and learn and optimization kind of things, right? And then what are the marketing plans? Like, I've had companies where they have no budget, they just go to ask for money when they want to do something. They're not measuring the performance and activities. They're just doing things because they don't know any better. And so sometimes that chief marketing officer coming in for part-time, either a limited number of hours a week or for a limited number of months engagement, they're there to create the marketing North Star, to tie it back to those business objectives, to assess the team and the skills and what gaps may be there, restructure them, coach them, teach the team that while you're executing marketing, you actually need to have a strategy behind it with the company objectives, the marketing objectives, the communication objectives, and then the marketing communication strategies. And then you get to the tactics, right? And then you get to the whole, oh, you know how to create an email. Okay, great. So teaching them all those fundamentals so that then they can go off and maybe they either, you know, end up hiring a chief marketing officer if the company is making enough money to where it makes sense, or they now have the skills because they've learned and they can move forward without this leadership.
Absolutely. There's much to learn from you about all these things about marketing strategies, about brand transformation, personal branding, and obviously your brand transformation process. That is the Butler Branding Bootcamp. So, a lot of people who would want to connect with you, learn more about these things from you, what's the best way for them to connect with you, Sheila?
So they can find me at, so my email is sheila@butlermg.com. So Butler MG for Marketing Group, Butler Marketing Group. They can also go to my website, butlermg.com, or find me in LinkedIn. And be happy to connect with people.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.